From the heart of Kansas City, we bring you Buck and Bob take on Chiefs Kingdom and Mel.
I'm Buck.
I'm Mel.
And I'm Bob, and we're not just, we're not fancy analysts, but we have just as many bad takes. So let's get into it.
I'm feeling kind of fancy tonight, so I might be a fancy analyst.
Fancy analyst? I'm feeling a lot better about when we started this podcast. I was worried, but now that I've been doing so much research on the Chiefs, I realize I know more about the Chiefs than the majority of people on ESPN, NFL, NFL.com, all of these, because they cover they not only the Chiefs but 31 other teams.
Mm-hmm.
As
it's hard
well
to be an
as
expert.
some of them cover other sports.
Mm-hmm.
So I've just realized we actually know way more about the Chiefs than they do. Now, we talk about all the other teams. I mean, we have to learn about the teams every week before we do the show.
And that takes a lot of research and time and effort.
We're learning a lot more about I'm becoming so much more versed in everything. It's really cool.
And another thing about that is, we played the Ravens week 1, so I know a lot about the Ravens week 1. But I couldn't tell you much about the Ravens week 10 or week 17, so it changes constantly.
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs are a different team every week.
Yeah,
so
completely different
it's
team
so
from
hard
when we
to stay
started.
up on everything. Yeah. So
But
so we're fancy Chiefs experts now.
we are definitely Chiefs experts in the sense that we know a ton about the Chiefs. But boy, what a game! I wasn't worried about this game, but I got worried in the third quarter a little bit.
I was terrified about this game.
See, I wasn't, but then
I was terrified because I felt like I shouldn't be worried, so that scared me. Everybody was like, well, the Chiefs should definitely win this. And I'm like, I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like them going in thinking that, but I was just terrified of the upset. I was just terrified that our run would end soon. And
yeah, it's like I almost feel guilty if I don't feel nervous. If I feel comfortable going into a game, I can pretty much guarantee a loss.
yeah. And let's be honest, no game's been comfortable this season.
not super comfortable. No.
Yeah, there's been a couple games that were comfortable in the last couple of minutes, but nothing like, second half. You can just
we
sit
got
back.
this in the bag.
Yeah, there was nothing like that.
I mean, Steelers. I was just laying back.
Steelers was probably the most comfortable.
Yeah. Well, it was because it was Christmas and we had the family stuff and friends stuff. Yeah, the Saints
way early on in the season.
That was
we
a
just
decent game.
Put away early.
Yeah, but it was such a rare thing for a team that only loses 2 games in a season.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great time to be a Chiefs fan.
It is. I was telling Bobby that earlier. I was like, how crazy is this that we get to live through this era, right?
But not only through this era, but we lived through the bad. So it's like, a lot of the diehard Chiefs. I mean, we deserve this. We went through so long, much like the Lions fan base right now. They've gone through decades of rough goes of it, and they're really thriving this year. It kind of looks like they're headed to the Super Bowl. They're almost certainly headed to the NFC Championship game. So, kudos to them too. That's cool, man. It's a good time to be a Lions fan.
Definitely is. But no, media, they are not America's team. Period.
How do you really feel?
I get so pissed off.
That's such a hard argument, though. Like, how do you go and prove that argument? Not that I'm willing to do any kind of research or anything like that. I feel like it's just kind of a, where you're at. I was on a cruise for a week, and I saw probably 50 Bills fans and 50 Eagles fans, and they were all wearing their stuff. There were some Cowboys fans, and they weren't wearing their stuff. Like, there was one guy holding a Cowboys beer can, and I think I caught another guy with a Cowboys hat on, and once he realized he was wearing it, he took it off real quick. But, there were but everybody loved their teams, so.
Sure.
Well, okay, the truth of the matter is there is no America's team.
I'd agree with that.
I mean, it used to be the Texans because it was a different day and age. Or not Texans, the
Cowboys.
The Cowboys. It was a different day and age, and people didn't have access to a lot of games, so the Cowboys just ended up coming into the majority of people's homes. So it really was America's team at that point. But there is no America's team now.
You know, you could argue the same for the Lions because they played every Thanksgiving for sure. So you were guaranteed to see a Lions game every year.
Which is bullshit. Which is like something we need to talk about. Like, why the hell have the Lions ever had that over the Chiefs? I have no idea.
There's got to be a reason. You know what? I would research that.
Yeah,
if I remember.
have no clue, because it's just because the Chiefs small market team, and you know, now Kansas City's moving up. I mean, pretty soon we might not be a small market team, which is going to be kind of crazy. It'll be the end of our glorious cost of living here, which is really cheap.
Well,
Yeah, compared to everywhere
It's
else,
a rising.
unbelievable cheap.
it's Andre Rison.
It's not right. It hasn't risen that much. It's still pretty crazy compared to the other big cities. But we haven't gotten big enough yet. But still, there's just, it drives me nuts when they talk about the Lions, and you know, they talk about how they're so amazing, and it's just like they haven't earned it yet. You know, they're doing great this year, last year, but they still haven't earned it. And so it drives me nuts when everybody hates on the Chiefs on all the different shows, and then you get the Lions are like, oh my God, the Lions are so amazing. And I'm just like, shut up.
So the Lions owner is the one who thought and like wanted to start playing on Thanksgiving. That's why the Lions play
Oh.
every year on Thanksgiving. He wanted to increase ticket sales because most people in the area were Detroit Tigers baseball fans.
So they came up with the idea, so they get the honor of playing. I'm cool with that.
Every year. Mhm.
Yeah.
And then the Cowboys
Every owner-
started playing every year in 1966.
Every
or
owner could have
regularly.
come up with that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
So-
Lamar Hunt came up with the idea of the Super Bowl. Do they get to go to the Super Bowl every year? Do we get to hold the
Well,
Super Bowl here every
these
year?
days, yes.
Have we ever had a Super Bowl here? Okay, I'm just saying, that's not a good argument. No, I will not give into that. But let's talk about the game, guys. I mean, freaking A, 8 sacks? 8 sacks? What, was it 14 QB pressures, or was it 12? I think it was 14.
Yeah, so we had 8 total sacks, and then oh wait, that's the wrong one.
15.
So we've got an old friend watching on Facebook now, Josh. He said howdy. He's watching us.
Hi,
We
Josh.
appreciate you watching, Josh. Yes, I'm still wearing my beads. I'm gonna wear them until they fall out.
Oh, yeah.
It costs a lot of money, honestly.
We're not saying last names, but awesome. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
What's up, Josh?
They had 8 sacks, 9 tackles for a loss, and 14 quarterback hits.
Which is it's an okay day,
Yeah.
right?
It's
Decent
okay,
day
it's
at
okay.
the office.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a little bit more next game.
I'd
But
like to
not gonna
give
complain.
an official apology to Carl Loftus, who I called. It was what, probably 6 weeks ago we were talking. I called Carl Loftus a great all around player, but not what I would
Not a big
consider
set guy?
a pass rusher, like a actual, like, you think of him as a pass rusher. I thought of him as all around amazing defensive ends, gets pressure on the quarterback, gets, and stops the run. But boy, these last few games, he's really coming to his own and looked like a premier pass rusher.
Well, I think it's clear that he probably listens to the show, and he thought that was some good feedback and went to work.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, it certainly doesn't hurt that he's got a Menahue back on the other side, and it looked today like he's back to form.
If I'm being honest, I'm pretty sure the entire D of the Chiefs listens to the show, because when I gave Reed my card,
They probably put it in the team meeting
he
every week.
sounded like, he sounded like he was
Every
going to
Monday.
show it to everybody, and he was excited about it. He was pumped about it. So I'm thinking they all, Monday morning comes and they're like, what did Buck and Bob have to say?
We need some pointers for this week in practice. Yep.
Mm-hmm, totally.
I made jokes about that when I did gaming podcasts, and then it was the funniest thing to actually talk to some of the devs for a couple of the games that I covered. And they're like, yeah, we do actually listen to your podcast Monday mornings.
Yeah, that's a little different though, because now
Yeah.
you're talking about like
Yeah, I'm
top
talking
players
about-
of the game. So taking your advice as a podcaster is good business,
Yep.
as opposed to the armchair quarterbacks that,
But it
that
was
exist in today.
it was
yeah.
hilarious because I made the joke that they listen to our podcast on Monday mornings, and then I went to one of their conventions and they're like, actually, we do. I mean, there's one guy that comes with clips that he's clipped from your podcast that plays it during some of our meetings. I was like, no shit, that's awesome.
My gosh. Well, back to
an influencer.
Karlaftis. He had 3 sacks and 4 quarterback hits, which is great. Chris Jones had a sack. Good for him.
Yeah, but his pressure.
Oh,
I mean, he
he's-
was all over the
he's-
place.
He's
Still had
always
pressure.
impactful.
Yeah.
So I had to listen to the radio because I literally was on a plane from Fort Lauderdale today trying to get here for the beginning of the game, and I missed watching it, but I was listening on the radio for probably the first quarter and a half, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had already played all 4 positions on the defensive line by the time I was halfway here.
Yeah.
So we're talking halfway through the first quarter. And he was taking advantage of the offensive line. So even though he doesn't have the stats, he definitely was a presence. He definitely was a disruptor.
And he's been a presence all year. It's just everybody looks at sacks. But if you look at it, he was 5th in tackles for a loss and like 3rd in quarterback pressures, where he was pretty down there on sacks with only 5 for the season. But still, you just don't understand. Like that's a lot of change in the game with just doing that.
Yeah. Well, and one thing I think is impressive about Karlaftis this game was that it wasn't like it was missed coverage where he got his sacks. Like he worked for those. And there was a couple where he was double teamed and he just barreled his way through to get to Stroud. And I think I was underimpressed with Stroud's mobility. And I don't know if the injury early on in the game kind of limited his mobility a little bit more. I don't think so. I think our pocket was just really tight altogether. Like there was nowhere for him to go. Like people were coming around from the back and up the middle. So
I mean, he did take the most sacks of any quarterback throughout the regular season.
Yeah.
So,
but I also think that we saw a lot today from Spags' defense that we haven't seen this year.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there was at one
Lots
point
of
it was like
pressure.
seven
Consecutive
blitzes in a
blitzes.
row.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
and to me it felt like he was just blitzing every play of the second half.
literally everybody.
And that might just be, the defensive line made it look like that. But, yeah, I mean, there was pressure all day.
and for any of our possible Swiftie listeners,
Thank
a
you.
blitz is where you rush more than 4, because generally a defense rushes 4 every time. So even
3 or 4.
Well, but usually 4. Even if it's a 3-4, the different linebackers take turns rushing. So when you rush 5 or more, it's considered a blitz.
And Spags likes to blitz with 10 to 12, usually. Which is so much fun to watch.
Yeah,
It
it's
is.
crazy when you get that 12th person on the field.
That one play where Justin Reed came through that line, I'm completely untouched. I mean, Stroud was lucky to come out with both feet not broken on that play.
Dude, I was scared when Reed took that one hit. I was no. Reed, you're the guy that I talked to and gave my card to. You're the only guy that listens to the podcast on the Chiefs.
He's
Which we
just
know
an
is not
amazing. He's just an amazing player, though.
Be so cool if it was.
I was very, like McDuffie went out for a play early on too to get evaluated, and who else went out?
Cook actually went to the
out
locker room.
Yeah, to the
And I think
locker
he
room.
was out for a few minutes.
Yeah, he was out. It was at the end of the first quarter, and I think he didn't come back until.
Well, on the radios, they said he was headed back to the locker room, and they said which normally would lead you to believe that it's a head, something with the head, but they didn't know that. It was just speculation at that point. So, and when I got here, I didn't hear anything about it after that. I just saw him on the field. So,
See, I like Cook a lot, but I really think Hicks is going to take over that spot, unless we end up not being able to sign Reed, which is a very big possibility next year. So, but I think
history
Hicks
shows that
takes over for Cook. Cook, if you watch Cook does great on a lot of stuff, but boy, all the offensive coordinators know that when he has to change direction, boy, he loses. He gets beat on change of direction constantly.
I think we would likely keep McDuffie over Cook or over Reed, and I think we could probably only keep one of them if we have to pay them both. But I don't know if we have to pay them both.
Well,
That's
Reed,
a hard choice.
Well, I don't know. McDuffie, it's because McDuffie's part of the crazy draft class that we're gonna have to figure out who we're gonna sign. You know, it's the draft class that has never lost a playoff game ever. They're
It's McDuffie, it's Karlaftis, right?
yeah, they've only won Super
I
Bowls.
think
so
it's
far.
2022
Yeah.
draft class.
2022, yes.
Yeah.
That's
So,
ridiculous.
yeah, they've this.
You
whole
guys need to
draft
go to
class-
another team and
Reed-
see what it's like.
Reed's not from that draft class. He's a bit older. So it's very possible we let Reed go.
All right, put yourself in Veach's shoes right now, and you've got to choose one. Who do you choose?
I just going by the Chiefs' track record.
No. I'm your choice. Your Brett Veach.
Oh,
Just based on your opinion.
without my bias of how nice Reed was to me at the golf course.
Oh, sure. You're Brett Veach
I'd
right
take
now.
I'd keep McDuffie if I had to choose
Yeah.
one of them. Yeah.
100% keep McDuffie.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think
And
so
I
too.
say that-
also younger too.
I say that one because he's younger, but two because we've struggled so much at the cornerback position as of late that I think gambling on another cornerback is going to be a
I'm
struggle.
a big safety guy, though. I mean, I've got 4 jerseys. 2 are Patrick Mahomes.
I think
one's Kelsey, and one's Eric Berry. Safety. I mean, I'm a big fan of safety play.
Well, I feel like it's easier to, and I think the Chiefs have a deeper safety, group of guys in the safeties that can cover that position. So yeah,
It'd be
I think
easier
McDuffie
for us to
would.
get
Yes, yeah.
a really
And I
serviceable
honestly,
safety.
if I'm
think
being
Reed
honest,
will be cheaper
I think
than McDuffie,
safety's
though, too. So there's
easier
that, too.
to play than.
Isn't there corners that go to safety when they
It
get a little
depends
bit
on the
older?
defense you're in.
Sure,
Isn't
but
there
I think
corners
overall,
that go to safety though when they get a little
Sometimes,
older?
yeah, when they get older.
sometimes, and it depends on the offense. I mean, the safeties in the Chiefs oftentimes have to do man to man, which is definitely much more than other teams ask of. Usually, like we have to do quite a bit of man to man at safeties on our team, whereas most teams do mostly zones with their safeties, and they're more of a safety net, hence the word safety. But I don't know. Reed's such a good character, though, but so's McDuffie. It's really, if the whole choice I'd be doing was just because McDuffie's younger, and if the price was the same. But I think we might end up keeping Reed and not keeping McDuffie, because McDuffie's going to cost a fortune.
So if we drafted, how long are rookie contracts?
I don't know.
Generally 3 years. There's some stipulations depending on rounds.
And isn't there a cap on rookies too? Like their
Yes.
first.
There is a cap of how they get paid based on their draft order, and that changed the last year that rookies had to sign deals. Was when Brady Quinn got paid that absurd amount of money and basically screwed over the Rams for years and years to come. I'm so glad they got rid of that, because you'd have these star first-round picks. Like the top 10 picks would hold out most of training camp and just be it was just a mess back in the day. So I'm so glad that they changed that.
Speaking of the Rams, I want to give a shout out to my buddy Gary, huge Rams fan I met on the cruise. Spent a lot of time hanging out with him, and his son-in-law is a huge Chiefs fan too. So bonus points there.
Nice.
Trent McDuffie's contract is through 2025.
Yeah, we have to we could extend them now.
Yeah.
But even if we don't, then he's still guaranteed through this next year at least.
No.
Yeah, he's through 2025.
So it's a 4-year deal because he played.
2022, 23, 24.
Yeah.
Wait, we didn't win the Super Bowl in 2022 though. If he's only a Super Bowl winner, he would have come in 23 or 22.
We're in 24, guys. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
So 22, 23.
Please. Okay, here. Quickly,
24. This would be his third year.
Quickly, guys. The Super Bowl is always played on the year after the year it is.
We're
so
not
this will
confusing
be
that.
the 24.
Yeah. We're not confusing
confused
that.
with that.
Yeah. So yeah, if we win this year, he's won all 3 of the years that he's played. Right.
So that would be if they do 3-year contracts, then this would be his last year.
Okay, well, it says he becomes a free agent in 2026. It says Reed becomes a free agent in 2025.
So
I wonder if there's options for.
So it's the extension. So is it 4 years then, or where am I screwing up the math here? Because we traded Tyreek Hill, got all the picks, did the 2022 draft, won the Super Bowl. Then
Did
won
he
the
come
Super
in
Bowl.
23?
Then we
No.
might win the Super Bowl this year. So that means is it first round draft picks are actually 4-year contracts?
He
And
was a first round, 21 overall.
I think first round draft picks are 4 years rather than 3.
Yeah, he signed a 4-year rookie contract with the Chiefs.
Yeah, it's okay. And anybody who wants to help us out, comments, let us know. Like we're still new to the whole, just like most fans. We watched the draft, but just listened and didn't actually really dive into it. But
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure rookies in the first round
First
have
round
a longer.
picks all receive 4-year deals with a 5th-year team option.
Gotcha.
So then it would be the team's choice to make it a 5-year. I wonder what those extra.
If they extend them, and the extension talks are coming up. Okay, so, and then after the first round, I think it's guaranteed 3 years for each.
Well, I'm
person.
definitely Team McDuffie. I think he's definitely earned his spot on this team. I hope they can find some way to keep him part of this team because he's.
I agree.
Yeah.
Especially at this age, I don't even know that he's peaked yet, and that could be scary.
Yeah.
And we're going to need it because the AFC West is really, really up there. I mean, 3 of the teams made the playoffs. 2 of them embarrassed themselves.
Well,
welcome to the playoffs, Broncos and Chargers.
Yeah.
Don't worry. We'll carry the AFC West from here.
Yeah.
welcome back, yeah, and thank you for your short stay. But okay, so I talked about it. I would have rather the Chiefs, really play a little bit of Mahomes and the starters in the first quarter of that last regular season game, and I was right. The Chiefs did come out looking rusty on offense.
Yeah, I
mean, they
can't
looked
argue with that,
rusty.
but I don't know that would have changed too much. And I don't know that the risk would have been worth it because by the second half, they were definitely looking like I don't want to say a well-oiled machine. They weren't out on all cylinders, but they definitely didn't have the rust anymore. And it was a fairly comfortable second half of the fourth quarter. So, just to prevent the injuries that could have happened in that game, it just wouldn't have been worth it. We definitely weren't going to get the W against the Broncos unless we played all the starters for the whole game, made it a real game. So I just... Had we lost, we would definitely all agree with you right now, 100%. So I can't even say you're wrong. I'm just saying I don't know how much that really would have done.
I can say you're wrong because I don't think that we've come. Yeah. I don't think that there's been any game this season that we have come out and dominated from the start of the game. Like, we have not started games strong.
Steelers.
Yeah, but dominate, though? I don't think we dominated that game. That game was still definitely a game in the second half at some point. I don't know.
Been a second half team the entire year.
Yeah.
So for you to say the rust was due to them resting their players, I think, is inaccurate. I think we've been rusty at the beginning of games or slow to start, and that could be game plan. That could be us just getting to know what the defense is doing or anything like that. I think our defense wasn't rusty. I think our defense came out pounding.
Well, let's guys, let us know what you think in the comments below. But okay, so what was surprising to me during the game, but then after the fact I thought about it and then was like more of a duh. Hopkins and Hollywood Brown like just were a non-factor, but I thought about it and I was like, oh yeah,
Worthy.
they have really good corners on on the Texans, so that would make sense why
They have a good defense. Yeah.
they weren't they were going to them. But I mean, Kelsey came through. I was talking to Mel about it last night, and I was like, dude, I bet you they just sleep on Kelsey. In this first game, Kelsey has a game, and yeah, he did.
Well, I think the benefit that we get of having Hopkins and Hollywood is that they can't put everybody on Kelsey.
No, they
right?
can't. They really can't afford to double anybody at this point.
Like, they can focus on Hopkins or D-Hop, or Hopkins or D-Hop. Hopkins or Hollywood or Worthy or Kelsey, but they can't cover them all. And so that's the benefit we have now with everybody healthy. And I think that was so worth maybe a slower start.
And that's where the Chiefs really have the advantage in the playoffs with all the experience and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes especially. You can plan, the Chiefs could come out with a plan this week that they're going to focus on Hollywood Brown. That's what they're going to do. And the Texans decide, what, we're going to cover those first two wide receivers, and Patrick Mahomes will pick it up in the middle of the second play. All right, well, I'm going to have to change that.
Yep.
Look, Kelsey's wide open, and he's so good and so patient, and his eye on the ball, which you've talked a lot about this year, especially in the first half of the season.
Oh, yeah, him
Mahomes just was staring down receivers, not really going through all the progressions. I'm at this point, I'm really starting to think that was all just like fodder. Look, as long as we're winning games, we're not going to show you anything. And Mahomes is going to look pedestrian at times, and then at the very end of games, Mahomes' magic comes alive because it has to.
Dude, at the end of the where was it?
The Mahomes magic, the TD to Kelsey while he's falling to the ground.
Superman style.
Yeah,
he was parallel to the ground when he let go of that ball. Are you kidding me?
So, like right at the start of the fourth quarter, Mahomes, it looked even like Kelsey was surprised. Mahomes is getting sacked or getting tackled, going down, and as he's going down, he's like I don't know, 45 degrees from, he's just like, he's falling straight down forward, and he just throws it, and Kelsey's just like, oop.
Perfect.
Yep.
Right over the defender who was in front of him. I mean, he was 5 to 8 yards in front of him, but still,
right over the guy.
You really have to get over that guy. And Mahomes even said it in the post-game presser that, that was either going to be a touchdown or an interception. I got enough on it to get the touchdown. But
they asked Andy Reid about that. They said, were you worried that Mahomes' knee was down? And Andy's response was hilarious. He was just like, no.
I got a pretty good view from where I was. Yeah, I love that comment. No, but you know what? For all those people out there, and there are millions of you at this point that just blame the refs on anything, Patrick Mahomes making that throw could not been assisted. I mean, that's just pure talent and practice and faith in your guys. I mean, it's just beautiful to watch.
Yeah, there was. I mean, so there the refs.
The refs were a factor.
They called the one helmet to helmet on Mahomes,
It's called roughing the passer.
Roughing the passer.
Roughing the passer. But No, it was unnecessary roughness. It was like like you would get a call for like a defenseless receiver.
Are you talking about the one early on that I wasn't here for?
No, he was a runner, and yeah, you're thinking about early on where he came in. And like you just can't both instances. So the first one I think was definitely legit, even though people
controversial.
But it was legit. He should have been called. He shouldn't have led with his head. Period. That's just the way the game is now. But the second one, where the two defenders they actually hit themselves in the head and didn't actually hit Mahomes, but
the intent.
My words to you are, don't play the game wrong, and then you'll be fine. Like, don't lead with your head. Just don't do it, and you won't have the problem. But there was problems on the other side too. Trey Smith got called for a hold when it was the defensive lineman who actually held him and tackled him to the ground. So they get it wrong on both sides, and that's just the way it is, and it's the way it's always going to be until
game.
AI does it.
Now, on that point, I'll also say that the refs got it. There were a couple of calls that were fairly questionable. The one with I believe it was the tight end who kind of bobbled that pass a little bit, and he could have had one, could have had two.
We challenged it.
We challenged it, which seemed like a dumb call, but there was literally 27 seconds left before the 2-minute warning. So the Chiefs, and they had 3 timeouts. Yeah. They were up by 2 scores. There was absolutely zero reason to not challenge it. Yeah. It was close. And I think my true belief on that is that it wasn't a catch. But it was so close, I won't argue that they didn't overturn it. It is what it is. You know, the guy still made a spectacular catch.
Sure.
And then that other one where we couldn't really tell because the Chiefs defender was right on top of him and all the camera angles.
Yeah, there's no way you're ever going to tell.
My true belief on that one is it was a fantastic catch. I really do believe it. I don't believe that it touched the ground because you could see the ball all the way when he was like his side was on the ground and then he started to roll to his back. He still had it on his stomach. So the chance that it touched the ground after that is so small. I believe it was a good catch. So I think the refs had some good calls and they had some questionable calls. It's tough to say. You know, in the heat of battle, they don't have – I know afterwards they can look at all the replays, but live action, they've got to do the best they can. And there isn't 22 refs. Right. So that you can't have a ref for every single person, which I said it a few times early in the season. Let's get another ref out on the field. Why not?
What, though? I think it's like you have to think about it like – speeding, right? Like you're gonna speed until you get caught, and you know you're not gonna get caught every time, right? And then once you get caught speeding, you stop for a little bit and then you go back to speeding a little bit, right? Like they can't have a cop watch every single car,
right?
But there's always the threat or the chance that you might get caught. And so you don't do it as much, or you don't speed as fast. You go 5 miles over instead of 10, or you know what I mean? And I feel like that's how the NFL has to play. And that's enough. And I think that the refs definitely didn't make a huge impact in the game one way or the other. I don't think they let huge plays go. I don't think they called every single little thing. I think there's probably things they could have called. I think there's probably things that they maybe got wrong. But overall, I felt like it was a good pace of the game. I didn't feel like we were just like, oh my God, every single play has a flag on it. And you could throw a flag on every single play. If you were watching every single person on the field, you could throw a flag on every single play. And that's not what anybody wants to see.
And let's be honest, if there were 22 refs, one for every player, there absolutely would be a flag on every single play, and that would downgrade the game.
All right. So what we need to do is we need to install microchips into all players' heads that is connected to their pain receptors, and then any time that they
shock them,
that they actually do a penalty, it just puts them in excruciating pain. And they'll stop it really quick. It's
not be a part of this at all.
I believe the players' union might have something to say about that.
But it would stop penalties in their tracks, at least intentional penalties. Be a good study.
No, it would not. Do you know how?
Wow.
Listen, I have a degree in psychology, and I learned a lot about. You guys remember like the prison study? You guys learn about the prison study?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
They
where
made a
they
movie
had
about it.
like they took like a group of college students and they made half of them guards and half of them prisoners. They were all the same like group, right? And they didn't know. And then they went and like just to see the behavior of each put into that different role. And yeah, needless to say, that would never.
How does that have
happen.
anything to do with my little pain receptor thing?
Same thing. You're trying to control.
Oh no, you wouldn't have a human. You'd have to have AI control it.
Oh, I don't have any faith in that
leave
at all.
it to the computers.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not going to
Them
leave it up to
take over.
humans. That's the whole problem we're dealing with right now.
Well, I will say at the beginning of the show, we do have a lot of bad takes, and that is definitely at the top of the list of bad takes.
I think it's one of the best.
Not
For the
even a bad
season.
take. That's a horrible take.
Yeah, that's
it's a
absurd
like, yeah,
take.
very unethical take. Like,
What, it's not, don't, they'd have to sign off on it.
no.
It's not
It-
Who would
ethical.
sign off on that?
Somebody who's going to get paid $100 million over 4 years.
Okay,
It
cool,
does
but
not
you
matter.
said they'd all have to sign off on it.
You get
That
paid
means
that
every
much-
player in the NFL.
I would sign off on it for $250K a year, which is, I think, the league minimum.
If you were a player making millions of dollars a year, you would allow that for another $250,000? No way.
no,
Not a chance.
no, I said just for $250,000 a year, I would do it right now.
Oh, you would. Yeah,
Yes,
but you don't play
exactly.
the game.
It doesn't matter. People would do it for
Oh,
the
you
chance
mean-
to make
you mean
millions.
just-
Yeah,
Alright.
it would be in your contract. It would be voluntary. If you didn't want to, you just don't have to play in the NFL.
It's still unethical. I feel like we should go on the side of
This is
positive.
absurd.
We need to go on the side of
Dumb
positive
conversation.
practice here and maybe like give people bonuses for not engaging in so many penalties at the end of the year. You know, how about that?
Yeah, okay. I mean, I just said like we could just stop it in its tracks with AI, but
Yeah.
you know.
Can we talk about Leah Chanel and another blocked field goal today?
Yes.
That was
Yes.
amazing.
Yes.
I mean, Justin Reed got a lot of credit for that play, and I mean,
Initially, it looked
even
like it was him.
Even after the play, they showed him, and he was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
But he knew it
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
him. I mean, he got around. He
Oh.
timed that play perfectly.
Another, yeah.
But Chanel was even
a-
getting like pulled back, and he still got up there.
another ref screw up. He was held there. That's
Oh,
the
yeah.
only reason he didn't get the block. He was completely held. So,
To be fair, even if they had called that, we still would have
dude,
declined the
I mean,
penalty.
the kicker
Wow.
probably still would have missed it anyway. He was having a bad day.
That was a
dude.
really
Yeah.
low kick,
He
and,
was
and it
having
was
a bad
it was
day.
like a 33-yard field goal, I believe. He totally should have kicked that
you-
way higher.
Well, they
Do you
said the wind
think
was
he
really
was-
bad, though, right? But like
So
the
Not
flags
to Butker.
weren't moving very well.
Early on, the wind was bad. I
Yeah.
think it calmed down, but I think he was kicking it lower because the wind had been like. I think the higher you kick it, right, the more the wind's going to impact it. So he
Yeah.
was probably kicking it lower because he had like shanked a couple. But he missed a field goal. He missed an extra point, and then he had that field goal kick blocked. Like, poor guy.
What was
He doesn't have a
Butker's
job
longest,
next
though?
year.
I just, Butker had a decent, and none of his were even close to being. I mean, they were straight down the middle, straight as an arrow. It didn't
Which
seem
let's
like the
talk about
wind
that because
affected him.
he was my one wild
Yeah.
card going into the playoffs
He
where
was my
I
big
was
worry.
worried. I was like, okay, if we can't count on Butker, we're in trouble because there's a lot of games that they have come down to Butker making a field goal, not like an extremely long field goal.
His longest was 36. He had 3 field goals today, and his longest was 36. He had a 36, 32, and a 27-yard field goal.
I'm feeling way better about Butker
I am
after
too.
this game.
Yeah.
I was pretty
Yeah.
worried
Yeah.
going into it. I think everybody was. So I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's a
that's
an everybody take.
Sure.
almost.
But it is a good take.
Yeah. Can we talk about okay, so Buck, you
Butker
weren't
would say it
here, but the start of the game starts off with a return, which what's his name? I'm sorry.
Remigio.
Remigio.
Nico Remigio.
So Remigio,
Although Andy Reid said Remigio.
yeah. Who knows? So he
He's got a
returns
lot on
it
his plate.
like 60 something yards. It was down to like the 18 or something like
No,
that.
it's down to the 30.
Okay, so all the way down, it was a great return. And right at the 30-yard line or roundabouts there, boop, he lets it go. Okay? Just drops it. He tries to switch
okay, when
arms.
you say he dropped...
Okay, so he tried to switch arms,
Uh-huh.
and his arm was here,
Uh-huh.
and he apparently thought his arm was here because he went like this, and then it went boop.
Yeah,
on the ground.
He went to secure it with his right arm, but he was like off on where the ball was, and he missed the ball, and the ball goes right past his right arm. Trying to.
And this is
secure it.
after he had already run like 50 some odd
Oh,
yards,
yeah.
60
All the
some
way
yards.
down the field.
Yeah, this was the very.
It was a
end of the play.
63-yard
Yeah.
return.
So he had run 63 yards, and then he tried to switch arms.
No, he didn't try to switch arms. He was getting tackled, and he tried to put his other arm on top of the ball to secure it, and he just missed the ball with his right arm, and the ball went past.
It wasn't a great look.
So
But
P. Ryan gets the...
P. Ryan saves the day.
Again.
That was my whole point, is that P. Ryan, like, having him on the team, I feel like it's not like he had a bunch of impactful, like, flashy plays this game, but he's always there, right? He's
Yep.
Just
there.
like Noah Gray.
He's there when Travis needs a lateral target.
Just like Noah Gray.
He's there when Remigio needs a fumble recovery.
Yeah.
He's there, like, and it was so
Yeah,
funny
I'm
watching
going
him
further than Noah Gray.
watching him the rest of the game, where like he's following Remigio down the field, like, I got you. If you're gonna let it go, I got you. Like, he was on top of it.
Yeah,
but I
he
think
was
that's
great.
huge. I mean, just his game sense and his ability to always be in the right place at the right time is, I think, gonna take him very far. It's great to have on the team.
Well, let's talk about a little bit of the bad. A little bit of the bad is, holy shit, they had a lot of rushing yards against us, and holy
did.
shit, we didn't rush very well at all. And still, our defense has really, really, really got to stop just giving up long-ass drives. We still lost the possession battle. We had 26 minutes, 34 seconds. They had 33 minutes, 26 seconds. I mean, we need to control that. The reason that the reason the Buffalo Bills were able to beat us this year is because they were a smart enough team to hold on to the ball. Texans weren't that smart today, or weren't skilled enough to do it. But that's how we lost, is them having more time of possession, and we need to fix that. We can't be having, yeah, we're great in the red zone stopping, but we can't be having 8-minute long, 65 to 75-yard drives down the freaking field. We can't have that. We need the D to lock it up in earlier times, and that's what we're still not seeing that we did see early on in the season.
I don't know that that's fair on our defense, because our offense's time of possession is low because of them. And if our offense kept the ball longer and had better drives, our defense would get more time to rest.
Yeah,
and I think our
that is a
defense
good
could
point.
hold them better.
That's
right?
a good point. Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
We had our first possession was a minute. Our second possession was, our second two possessions, we had it for
To be fair,
4
our
and a half.
first possession, we had it at the 15-yard line because
Sure, and
not
we went
only
3 and
oh,
out.
yeah, we talked about Pete Ryan falling on the ball, but after that, one of the Texans special teams players threw his helmet off and
Yeah.
then started pushing his special teams
Yeah,
coach.
It was very
What
strange.
dude, bad look, Texans.
Yeah,
Bad
It
look.
was very strange.
Like, dude, it doesn't matter how right you are as a player. You're a player. Know your role.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do not get in a coach's face ever. Period. Like, that's just a bad look.
Well, one of the things I noticed...
So they had a 15-yard penalty. That's why
talking
we
about
started
the Chiefs going to 3 and out, and at times they looked unstoppable, and at times they looked pedestrian at best. It seems like sometimes Andy Reid really likes to fall back into that passing out to the flats thing, and doing a lot of screen plays, which I don't mind. The
Screen plays
screen
are
plays,
amazing.
yes, they are when they work, but when they don't, it's a loss. It's a loss of
but
yards.
They set up a lot of stuff, though.
Sure, it does. But when we're going 3 and out, That's not okay. You've got to start with something other than that to throw that in to open it up later.
Sure.
It
Well,
has to
and
be
we only
effective first, and if it's not, then it's go with another game plan.
Yeah. We
I
only went
just-
3 and out twice. So,
Really?
yeah,
Wow. It felt like a lot more than
it
that.
did.
Well, that's because it was like 6 and out. You know, it was like
yeah, okay.
Well,
yeah.
no,
you
we
got
had
one
9,
first down,
Yeah.
but then went 3 and
9,
out.
7, 5, 13, 3, 7, 4. So, yeah, I mean, it was.
But we do have. I hate it. But Pop is struggling, dude. Pop five attempts for 18 yards, and he had one run that was a 10-yard long, and that's the only reason his stats are even okay-ish, is because he had a 3.6 because of that 10-yard run. But I mean, the other 4 rushes were for 8 yards.
Okay, so I'm not worried at all. With the understanding that Tooney was going to play tackle and Caliendo was going to play guard on the left side, we've seen it since they made that change. The passing game has become more effective, and the running game has become way less effective. And I'm okay with that trade-off. I know what we're going to get. I know what Mahomes can accomplish in the passing game, so I'm okay with it.
I think you're wrong.
What do you mean I'm wrong? I mean, you've seen it.
Yeah.
The running game has gone down the tubes since
Well, I'll tell
that
you,
change.
the 10-yard run was right between for Pacheco was right between Tooney and Caliendo. It was
Okay.
right between.
Yeah,
them.
it's not
Doesn't
going to
mean
be every
it's
single
never
play.
gonna happen.
Yeah,
right.
But what I'm saying is that he ran on the right plenty, but you know, like he only had 4 for 8 after that. Whereas Kareem Hunt ran 8 times for 44 for a 5.5 average, with a long of 12. So
Sure, but they're going to it a lot less.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't
how
think
many
it's
runs
fair.
did we have? 15 total?
I don't think it's fair to say Hunt or Pacheco had a good or a bad game because they didn't have enough reps.
They didn't have the
And I think it's not fair to say, like, Pacheco sat out for how many games? You bring him back and he's running 5 to 10 times a game. Like, he's not getting in a rhythm. He's not getting his mojo back. And he's got Hunt in there, you know, who is doing a lot. I'm not saying that Hunt isn't looking like a better running back right now. I do think he is. But I don't think it's that Pacheco is no longer a good running back.
Yeah,
I think
no, I
Pacheco's
totally
just
agree. I
not-
think when we're looking long run, next season, theoretically, if DJ Humphries makes that change and he's able to integrate into the offensive line in the preseason, then it becomes a way different scenario. Now you've got Tooney back at tackle in his natural position that we know he dominates at, and Humphries as even a serviceable left tackle. At that point, our running game will absolutely go back to what it was. I'm not worried about Pacheco at all. Not one bit. I do agree with you that he doesn't pop up the way that he did, you know,
Sure.
after every single play. I can't excuse that. I can't explain that. Maybe it's just one of those things that his, mentally it's in his head. He had 18 yards on 5 attempts. That might get in your head. But
what I'm trying to
for
say,
next season, for the long run, I'm not worried about Pacheco and his performance.
So if we look at the Texans, Mixon had 18 attempts for 88 yards, a 4.9 average. Pierce had four attempts for 10 yards for 2.5 yard average. That's the kind of split up that I'd like to see going forward with Hunt and Pacheco.
But I don't think that's the same game. I don't think that's the game plan that we're going with. I don't think we're going for a 50-50 split here in the playoffs.
But but I think that is what they're kind of going for, looking at the stats. For today, instead of 8 for Hunt and 5 for Pacheco, I would have rather 10 for Hunt and 3 for Pacheco.
Okay,
And-
but we're still talking about 14 rushing attempts without Mahomes, and that's including Worthy. He's not a running back. So if you're looking at just running backs, we have 13 attempts total.
Yep.
Right. That's not
And they had
That's not even
22
close.
for the
Yeah,
Texans.
but I want Hunt to get the lion's share now. I'm off the
I think
I
split
think
back.
With this offensive line, that's a horrible idea. I don't think you want to put that into plan. I mean,
I don't understand like they ran fine. Like Hunt ran fine with the offensive line we had today. He actually ran way better than Mixon did.
running fine is not going to win a Super Bowl.
He ran. He had a 5.5 average. Okay, sorry.
He had
ran extraordinary
8
today.
rushes.
Not fine. My
8
bad.
rushes. 8 rushes. You cannot compare 8 rushes to Mixon's 18 with a 4.9 average. Like, that's ridiculous to say that Hunt ran better than Mixon. No, he didn't. Mixon
Yeah.
ran
all right.
the
So
lion's
also,
share of their game.
so Kelsey was our main receiver, right? So you want to give another 10 attempts to Hunt. So you got to take 10 attempts away from the receiving core, which was the majority, Kelsey and Worthy. So now you got to take, 5 away from each of those? Then you take Kelsey's
think it
117
actually-
yards.
Yeah, I don't think that actually works like that because
They
running
still had
backs-
the same amount of plays.
Yeah, the running backs are going to extend drives, giving you more first downs, giving you like more drives during the game.
Potentially.
Whereas receiving is usually a lot
it's
longer
successful.
gain.
Right, if it's successful. So you're taking away – you're still going to have – I don't know. I see in theory what you're talking about if our offensive line is at peak, but it's not at peak. It's at Band-Aid right now.
Yeah, see, I think it's at peak right now for what it's been at this season.
For the
Both
season,
passing
yes.
and rushing. What I'm saying is the rushing problem is not the line, it's Pacheco.
I disagree.
We can look at the stats from Hunt from the games where
We can
Tooney was at left tackle and look that he still rushed just freaking fine.
We can
It's
also look at
Pacheco.
Pacheco's numbers before the line changed also, before he got hurt.
Before he got hurt. But I don't think he's the same player coming back. That's my whole point. Yeah, he's looked like let's not sugarcoat it. He's looked like shit.
I disagree.
I don't think
think
3.6
he's
yards
looked-
per average is shit.
Yeah, I don't think he's looked like shit. I think he's looked like they've been easing him back into the game. He hasn't had the jump that he had before, sure. He hasn't been running as angry as he was before, sure. But I think we would get that. I think he's not getting into the game right now. Like, he's in his head a little bit. I think he needs more reps. I feel like if we didn't have Hunt, Pacheco would have come back a different person. But I think we have Hunt, and Pacheco's letting himself ease back in. And that's completely theoretical. Like, I have nothing to back that up. But I think you also have to look at, are we going to have Hunt or Pacheco or either of them next year? And it's more likely that we have Pacheco than it is Hunt, I think, long term.
But I also think since we've had to do this shuffling around of the line, and since Tooney has started at left tackle, we've seen a massive decrease in the total attempts of rushing, and that's not an accident. That is a game plan by an absolutely brilliant head coach, definitely the second best head coach of all times, potentially the first best coach of all times. You can't tell me that
I can't.
That you think it's all Pacheco.
I can't. I mean, I could tell you that.
So
I
why
could tell
did
you
Hunt
that
only get
almost
8 carries?
for
How does that have
sure.
to do with Pacheco?
No. You're talking about the coach. I can tell you the biggest knock on Andy Reid throughout his entire career is he does not rush enough. Like, that's the biggest knock, and will always be his knock when he goes to the Hall of Fame.
I don't think you can say 3 Super Bowl victories in
I
5
can.
seasons.
Definitely, I can.
Says
Definitely, I can.
How's there a knock on that?
It's he even knocks himself, where he's like, yeah, I need to get the rush going more, but he doesn't like to rush.
I think that's
his
just coach
way.
speak, something to say at the press conference.
You could think
Look at the track record. I mean, 15-2.
yeah,
He's
that's
doing something right.
Mahomes.
Right. Mahomes doesn't rush.
Mahomes rushed 7 times today.
Right. Yeah. Mahomes scrambled 7 times today. Yeah. I mean, not one of those. I would argue
He
that
had
not
the
one
longest rush of the day out of any of our
on a
rushers.
scramble. Hunt doesn't scramble. Pacheco doesn't scramble. Those are designed rushes. Mahomes does not run the ball. as a strategy. It is a backup plan when things fall apart during the play.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Tell us
I would love to hear
your
what
thoughts.
the fans think.
Yeah,
on this.
in the comments. Tell us what you think. What else do we have? We don't have a ton of time left, but is there any questions in chat? Anybody in chat wants to throw out some questions? Yeah, I was a little bummed that we didn't see Brown and Hopkins in more, but I think that
was
is
a function
okay.
of the defense.
Yeah,
really.
I think it's just like they have two amazing corners, and
that was their game plan, was to take those two out, and they did. Cool, but there's the Chiefs just had too many weapons for that.
I know what I want to talk about. Holy crap! Where can we find yards after the catch? Because Kelsey. Bro,
yeah.
Kelsey, can we get a clap in the chat for Kelsey?
I mean,
Dude,
holy
the dude
crap.
Kelsey pulled out his
exactly what he did
playoff
last
mojo.
season. He had it.
And
No, I mean,
decent
last
year.
season, I don't remember him getting so many yards after the catch.
Oh, I do.
I mean, I
do.
remember. You'll have to show me because I think you're remembering wrong. Dude, if you're talking about the Super Bowl the year before, maybe.
Not the Super Bowl, the playoffs.
Yeah, the
last
playoffs
year in the
year
playoffs,
before.
he
Yeah.
turned it on
Look at the
and came alive.
Yeah, look at yards after catch. I think this might have been his best yards after catch game for all of the playoff games that he's played in the Patrick Mahomes era. Fact check me, chat, and let me know if I'm right. If I'm not right, I bet it's number 2. He had so many yards after the catch. I so thought he was taking that first one to the house, and he just couldn't stiff arm.
Oh yeah, I was here
whoever
for
was
that.
on him.
Yeah,
But
we were screaming at the TV.
I couldn't
stiff arm,
believe-
stiff arm.
I couldn't
He tried.
believe how many yards after the catch he had because that was what I've been bitching about forever. It's like, yeah, he's still got the hands, but boy, he can't get any yards after the catch. And man, he just had. I mean, I think the majority of his yards were after the catch today.
That's not a stat we get in these.
Yeah,
is
I'm
it?
trying to
Yeah.
find it. Yards after catch. Oh man,
not
It
in the
does, yeah,
stats.
it doesn't say it in these stats. All right, well, there's the one drawback for these stats. Otherwise, these stats have been pretty decent.
I mean, they're from NFL.com.
Yeah, it just doesn't show everything. Side note, since you guys are looking at that, can we just say great half to the Washington Commanders, who were up by 10 at half, 31-21.
wow.
So,
Oh really?
Yep, yep.
Did the game go with the Lions right now?
yep, going with
if
the Lions.
the Lions lose right here,
That would be
Rex Ryan, you can shut up, Rex Ryan.
honestly, I would
dumbest
be
guy
I
in-
would be sad for one of my best friends, even though he's a Chiefs hater, Damien, and I know you're not watching, but
So why? You
but
giving
I
him a
would feel
shout out?
I would still feel sad for. He's one of my best friends of all time, man. I've known the guy for over 30 years now. I mean, and he's a great guy. And you know what? The Lions deserve a successful season. They do, man. They've been down in the dumps for so many years. So I'm still rooting for the Lions. But you know, the Commanders, they've been they've been even worse. So what a turnaround they've had this season. So it wouldn't hurt my feelings if they win too. But I think that's an unexpected halftime score. So I thought it was worth mentioning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely wouldn't have expected Commanders to be up. I wonder how.
28 points in the second quarter.
What's his name? The
Jaden
quarterback?
Daniels?
Jaden.
Yeah, I think it's Daniels.
Jaden something.
Yeah.
It
Jaden.
says Travis Kelsey's. This is from Benjamin Solak on Twitter, so I don't know if that's very reliable.
That guy doesn't.
But he
yeah.
said
No, I'm
from
just kidding.
Next Gen Stats says that his plus 30 yards after catch over expectation in this game against the Texans is his best single game number of the last 2 years.
But that's just over expectation. So what was the expectation then?
I don't know.
All I know is that I call it how I see it, and this.
Yeah,
this
but that's not a
game-
thing. It was yards over expectation.
Yeah, this. Well, either way, what I'm saying is
It was a
that
good,
if it's
hell of an effort.
If it's not his best yards after catch per catch in a game, then I would say it's his second, third at the most in postseason games. Now, who knows what he would have done if he had made it to the playoffs in his earlier years when he was, jumping over people, like running over people like Jeremy Shockey, like
back
he
in
was a
like
monster
14,
then.
15, 16, man, if Mahomes was around for that.
But yeah, what else you got for me?
Me?
Anybody?
I
mean, I've kind of talked about. I mean, Carl Loftus is just, I talked about him, just how amazing that.
Did he get enough? Did he get enough credit? I mean, the guy was. I kind of mentioned it during the game to you guys. I mean, there were flashes of Derek Thomas in there, and I put the asterisks when I said it to you guys, and I'll say it again live. I'm not comparing him to Derek Thomas. I don't think there is going to be another Derek Thomas ever. He was on another level, but Carl Loftus really was just in his element and playing gangbusters today. And sometimes you can tell when a player has that kind of game, he's just feeling it that day, and he's got one special day in him. But that's not how I felt. I felt like Carl Loftus is really, with Amenahue coming back, I feel like they're really starting to mesh together, kind of like Neil Smith and Derek Thomas used to, and this could be a very special playoff drive for them. It may not. I could be wrong.
For me, comparing Derek Thomas really to anybody,
I just
just
a little bit. That's flashes.
Yeah, but I'll explain why. To compare anybody to Derek Thomas is just weird to me because Derek Thomas basically did something weird, just like Tony Gonzalez. Like Derek Thomas showed that linebackers could be premier rushers, and he wasn't even an outside linebacker. He was a middle linebacker, and he would come up on the line, and so he didn't even rush the passer every time. Like if he had been a defensive end, I mean, he would have had so many sacks, it would have been unreal. But he was a middle linebacker, and it's like Tony G started looking like a wide receiver when tight ends weren't used for that,
Right.
until he changed the game. So, I mean, Derek Thomas was kind of like the guy that inspired the invention of the 3-4 defense. So, I don't know that I can really. I mean, if you're talking about his strategies in how he gets by
No. It's more of a
blocker?
feel of the game, like a So he had such a presence today that just transcended. He only had 3 sacks, but he had a lot of pressure. He was integral on some of the other guys' huge defensive games. Like it was just a performance today that he was going to dominate, and along with Amenahue, because I think Amenahue had 2 sacks too, and
He had
one sack,
one,
but that was
but
a huge sack
He
in a
was
very
in on it.
and so Karlaftis, it wasn't just the 3 sacks. I don't want it to be just about Derek Thomas had 7 sacks in a game. Yeah, I'm not saying he's Derek Thomas performance wise, but as a presence on the field in the middle of the play, he seemed to have a feel for what he needed to do, where he needed to be, how he needed to get there. And even if he wasn't the one making the play, he knew how to affect it in a way that somebody else was going to get in there.
Sure.
It's more of a defensive presence on the field, and his feel for the game, it just seems to be on a level that, and I think he's still on a trajectory. I love the future for him, man. I think he's really starting to turn it on and figure it out, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's Derek Thomas. I don't think that'll ever happen. So please don't roast me on that. That's not what I'm saying. It's not a stats thing.
I just and the stats thing for me, like I said, just doesn't matter. It's just he played a position so differently than anybody in the NFL that, at that time, middle linebackers weren't going in, getting sack records and shit. Like that was something Derek Thomas was doing all by himself, which is just weird. But I mean, we had Carl Loftus had 3 sacks, but Connor had a sack. Amenahue had a sack. Chris Jones had a sack. Felix Ananduka Uzama had a sack.
Didn't somebody else have 2 sacks?
No,
Okay.
we thought Felix did, but
Yeah,
he
that's-
didn't.
okay.
He must have just had a good tackle for a loss that we
Okay.
thought was a sack. And then Tershawn Wharton had a sack, the big Turk, the guy that, catches kids falling out of stands and eats, 12 eggs for breakfast.
Hey,
Do you think he does that every day?
That's what he
Is that what he
said on
said?
the thing. Yeah,
that's crazy. I will say one thing that I
I
think.
got to step up my game.
Yeah,
Dude,
right?
Carl Loftus said after they were interviewing about him, he goes, "That guy eats more than I've ever seen any human being."
It's
able
not
to
even
eat."
just 12 eggs. It's 12 eggs
and waffles
mixed with potatoes and
Mm.
like some vegetables and some meat and like, so it's not even just 12 eggs. It's like a skillet over here. But yeah, I think one thing I'd love to see us improve on, I think our biggest area of improvement right now on the offense is our third down per like conversion. We've got, I think this game we had
really.
36%. We had
Wow,
4
it was
of
that
11.
bad.
4 of 11 third downs. we
Yeah, that
converted.
is weird.
It's
Usually
awful.
we're a lot better.
Yeah.
God, look at some of these stat lines, man. Connor had a huge day. 5 total tackles, a sack, like you said, tackle for a loss, which was a sack, quarterback hit. Ameniyu, same thing. Jones had 4 total tackles, the sack.
Well, we were on the
I mean,
field a lot too. Like the tackles.
Mhm.
I don't like tackles as a stat. I think it's a bad stat. I think you should not be a tackle leader because that means your defense was on the field way too much. But what do you think is the best thing we need to improve? Mel talked because we need to end this. Mel talked about third down
conversions.
conversion. What do you think's the
I,
biggest?
yeah, I mean, third down conversion, but I think especially in the fourth quarter, second half of the fourth quarter, when third down, we need to put a spy on the quarterback. They have hurt us a lot. C.J. Stroud had a big third down and long conversion because we didn't have anybody anywhere in the – and we know Josh Allen is going to do that, and we know that the Ravens are going to absolutely game plan for that.
Yeah.
So to not have a spy, I know that's going to hurt in the backfield, but, so be it. Let's not give up that big run by the quarterback.
All right.
Listen, it's not like we got the backfield on lock, so
Yeah, I know. That's tough, man. That's really tough.
I'm going the opposite of Mel's, but kind of going along with Buck's. We need to work better on our third down stopping on the defensive side. I mean, they were 58%. They should have never been. And there was quite a few long third downs, but it goes into a lot of those long third downs we lost because Stroud was able to run for it, which we just can't let happen. So that's what, to end it out, offensive and defensive player of the game. Let's go offensive first. Who's yours, Buck?
Travis Kelce, 100%.
All right. I'm going to go, I mean, it is Travis Kelce, but I'm going to go with Worthy, who really played a pretty dang good game compared. I
Came
saw
through
him
with some big ones.
2 different sideline catches where he really worked to get his feet down. I think he's learning a lot. Mel, what are you going with?
P. Ryan.
Okay.
Because if he wouldn't have recovered that ball, this game would have started off a completely different way.
Momentum.
And I think it
crowd
would have,
losing
like,
out.
been a totally different game. I'm
That's
not
a
saying
good
we
point.
would have lost, but I think
That's a
it would
good
have been a
point.
different game. And I just love that he's such a on top of it.
I just want to say, if we were playing Madden right now and P. Ryan was on there, he would have a 99 clutch stat.
100%. Yeah.
All right. Defensive player of the game, Mel.
Thanks for letting me go first. Carl Loftus.
Yep.
Sorry.
I mean, Carl Loftus was great, but I'm gonna go McDuffie. McDuffie
Yeah, he
held
killed
that
it.
game down. Like there was so many really perfect pass breakups. Like you always see those cornerbacks that do this thing. When it was thrown out of bounds. Yeah.
Or thrown short.
Mick,
Did you
Mick-
see what I did there?
McDuffie actually earns those, gestures. What about you?
I'm going to say Justin Reed, man. In some of the big time defensive plays where we really needed somebody to step up, he stepped up a lot. And then he got hurt in that one play and came back. That was that plays to his toughness. I mean, Justin
he's
Reed had a
amazing.
great game too. So,
Yeah.
but the whole defense in general, gosh,
they
man,
killed it.
they really, Spags. Maybe we should say Spags in general.
Yeah.
In
Either way,
Spags,
you can't.
We trust.
You can't. hopefully for another year.
I know.
Let's hope. Let's hope. All right. Well, guys, we have to end this out. You can find us all over the place at Buck and Bob. Buckandbob.com is how you find all of our links. BUKNBOB.com. You'll get all of our links there. Help us out. Share us on Facebook. Share us. Talk to the guy at the gas station. Just tell everybody about the show. Retweet, everything that you can do. Just get the word out that we're a podcast and we're a little bit annoying, but a little bit fun too. So you'll, just try to sell us. Help us out. Buck, where can we find you?
As always on Facebook, and then you can find me on Twitter. It's at Buck_tastic. That's BUK_TASTIK.
And Mel?
Find me here after every game.
Woohoo! And you can find me on Twitter, X, Twix, at Blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB.
You can also find us Wednesdays at the Sports Bar and Pizzeria in Lenexa at All American.
Pub and Pizzeria,
Yep, at All American.
We're changing the day. We're
going to be doing
Mondays
it Wednesdays. But yeah, yep.
All right, guys.
Got a great relationship with those guys. Looking forward to continuing it in the new year. So,
yeah.
Yep.
Woohoo.
Let's get out of here.
Bye.
Hasta la vista, baby.
How about those
Chiefs?